My, oh my. This video is something I wanted to make for a very, very long time. And before we get into it, I want you all to know that I love this franchise to my very core. I am super passionate about this franchise, so there will be some cursing and I might come off as an ass, so I do apologize in advance. Need for Speed has been my favorite racing game franchise right next to Midnight Club ever since I was a kid. It was also the very first video game I ever owned, which was Porsche Unleashed back on the Game Boy Advance SP, by the way. I have been through all types of developer eras in this game's history, with Black Box, Criterion, Ghost, and now, obviously, of course, Criterion again. Throughout this video, you might disagree with some of my takes, and that's quite okay. We all have a right to our opinion and a right to share them. But I have to get these thoughts off my chest, as well as put them out there, because by some miracle of God that a developer of this series sees this, and or some fans of this series see and agree with some of my viewpoints, I think we could have a promising future for this series. Because Need for Speed just doesn't have a singular problem. It has multiple, and I'm tired of it.
I copy 31.
Turning on the speeder that just flew by me.
In the early years of Need for Speed, a studio named Black Box Games started making a name for themselves after working on Hot Pursuit 2 and helped port it over to the PlayStation 2 in 2002. Try saying that 10 times fast. After having such positive reception, EA then gave them the Need for Speed franchise, and eventually Black Box was holding the reins to development. For many fans like myself, this is considered the golden era of Need for Speed, with games like Underground following the popular street racing trend at the time, Most Wanted Josie Marin's making sure I turn out as a straight young lad back in the day. Hold on. I meant bringing cops to the series. That's what I meant. Carbon enhancing the Most Wanted experience, and the underappreciated Pro Street. Some of the most well-received titles in the franchise, as well as fan favorites. The crazy thing is, Black Box did this on a yearly basis, pumping out game after game, and can you imagine if they only had more time to work on these titles? The problem is, with the Black Box era, is this is considered to be Need for Speed's identity. Underground street racing, running from the police, and of course, a wide range of cars to customize. What if I told you that the series never felt the same way again? What if I told you this was the height that Need for Speed reached with millions of people and not just racing fans and or car enthusiasts? You see, the problem with future installments of Need for Speed is they always tried to put fan service in to grab the old heads' attention, like myself. Now, is there anything wrong with this? No, not at all actually. But the perfect example I could give is that friend in your friend group that says the same joke over and over until it loses all of its effect. We all know that guy. First couple times it's great and funny, and then it's like, dude, come on. I mean, for God's sakes, EA, how many times are you going to market the BMW M3 GTR? Don't get me wrong, I love the car, and I think it's one of the best covers that Need for Speed has had. But for crying out loud, stop holding on to this title that's nearly 20 years old.
No, you're still holding on! Let go!
At this point, either remake Most Wanted to give the developers of future installments more time to work on the next mainline game, or just come up with a new idea. You see, Need for Speed is stuck in the past trying to capture the, oh, I remember when feeling, when in actuality they have been doing the same tropes for years at this point. Whether that be the M3, calling back to Razor from Most Wanted, they seem to forget other games, and it wasn't just one game that defined the franchise. Now, nostalgia is one hell of a drug. People tend to remember the good and forget the bad, because I can already hear the comments and the hardcore Need for Speed fans like myself saying, oh boy, we have a Black Box fanboy on our hands. No, I'm just a fan of good Need for Speed games. Because I'm telling you right now, the Black Box games were by no means perfect. Most Wanted was grindy, which most people forget. Need for Speed Undercover wasn't finished. To put it lightly, I Still enjoyed it though. Underground was a damn near Cradle Rice mobile, and Need for Speed The Run, they tried something different. Points for that. Now, am I saying the games suck? No, I still love going back and playing these older titles, but when you go back and play them, you will see right away that some things have aged very, very well, and other things definitely have not. Need for Speed also used to be very good at immersion. It's one of the many things I have always wanted to bring up, and it seems people have forgotten that the franchise was actually pretty damn good at doing this. The number one thing that seems to be getting dulled over time in every single release is the sense of speed while driving. And there is no Need for Speed game that does it better, in my opinion, than 2010's Hot Pursuit.
We are detecting a power surge for the suspect. Be on guard.
Another layer of immersion that added to the atmosphere of the series was the police, and it is absolutely crazy, as well as criminal, that barely anyone mentions this. But what happened to the police radio? Remember in Most Wanted, Carbon, and Undercover, where if you listened in, you could hear the patrol routes or what the police have coming up, whether that be a spike strip or a roadblock? And hell, if you just sat in your car, you could hear the dispatcher chatting with officers. For comparison's sake, so you can understand what I'm trying to say here and illustrate, I'm going to take 2 police calls from Need for Speed Undercover back in 2008, and I want you to listen to the difference compared to a newer game in the series, and listen to how much of a downgrade this has become, because my god, it's just very disappointing.
Unit 7-8, are you on the channel?
Yeah. I copy, dispatch.
2 code, 6 parties are approaching you 20. I need you to clear for code 3 pursuit.
I'm having a bit of engine trouble here. You sure you want me on this call?
Affirmative, I am fully aware of your status.
Unit 6-8, this is 1-8. Do you think these street racers have scanners on board?
What, you mean, radar detectors?
No, not radar, no. I mean, police scanners. Like, they're listening to us right now.
Nah.
Who's down for a chase? This one happening right now.
Requesting information on the subject's vehicle.
Suspect is in a Ferrari 388.
Time to get busy, team. We have a chase in progress. Remember, we rule the night.
Now, I know that fans of Need for Speed Heat will tell you that cops at night in this game are more rogue, which is the point of the story in this game, but it doesn't negate the fact that they are some cringy, and I mean cringy callouts. Granted, I'm not saying that the voice performances are bad because you can only do so much with a script. However, it just doesn't have that same feeling as the games of old. The last game that did this to a decent extent was Hot Pursuit. Although only minimal, it added to the sense of speed and heat of the moment. The point of the matter is, immersion is everything, and not just in a racing game, but in a game world in general. You want players to lock in and be entertained with what developers have in store for you, and with each iteration of newer Need for Speed titles, I just don't get that same feeling anymore. It feels like these senses of immersion are just slipping away and it's getting lost to time. After Criterion left to go help out on other EA development projects and dropping one absolutely legendary game in which to this day I believe is the last great Need for Speed, which was 2010's Hot Pursuit. And good news, if you're wondering or curious, you can play the remaster version on current consoles, for which I highly recommend because the multiplayer is fun with friends and or solo. Criterion also had one not so good game that was overhated but definitely did not earn the name, which was 2012's Most Wanted. Ghost Games took over for the series and started development right away with the help of the leaving Criterion staff to produce the next game. With development wrapping up in which was thought to be a year, Need for Speed Rivals was born. And it was okay, considering the game's rocky development story behind the scenes, which instead of a year, it was more like a few months. On top of that, developer Ghost was also moving studios during that time. So yeah, it was decent for what Ghost turned out as their first mainline Need for Speed game. However, for the next 2 years, it was quiet, as Ghost was developing a game behind the scenes. And when I tell you first impressions were everything, well, I applaud the people who put together one of the best teaser trailers that Need for Speed has had in a long, long time.
Yo, what's that? Yo, cops!
In 2015's follow-up, Need for Speed, they decided to do a reboot. The tone was reminiscent of Underground 1, the car list looked promising, however there were some catches, and well, unfortunately, they were some big ones. It required always online, so if the servers go down and or need maintenance, you're shit out of luck. Not to mention, this game is approaching 10 years old at this point, and I doubt they will keep it online for much longer. The handling model was also a mess, to say the least. The story was below average at best, trying to return to that classic feeling, but every true Need for Speed fan saw potential. We all knew, with just one more release, that we could nail this next game, and we knew the next game could be the best Need for Speed.
Go into a garage and
Speed card parts.
And check it out. Choose your off-road car, select performance goods, and equip a head speed card.
Need for Speed Payback, ladies and gentlemen. I hate this fucking game so much that I didn't even feel like reinstalling it to capture gameplay footage. Whatever goodwill Ghost Games had was instantly lost with me with this piece of shit. No free roam cops at launch, one of the worst stories that was ever put into a racing game, no free roam online multiplayer at launch, car customization locked behind random loot boxes. It sucked, and anyone who tries to defend this game is just asking me to dismantle their stance brick by fucking brick. Sorry. Moving on from that disastrous game though, we have Need for Speed Heat. And this game, much like the 2015 reboot, is just unrealized potential. Seriously, they came so damn close. Granted, I think Heat is better than Unbound, but that's not really saying much. The handling is still floaty and just doesn't feel right, like the cars don't have any weight. Cars will also snap back, overcorrecting themselves after understeering, causing you to lose control. It happens all the fucking time. It's honestly infuriating. The story is better than Unbound, but once again, spoiler alert, at the end we get that the sheriff is impounding the street racers' cars illegally. And guess what car he has at the very end of the game? You'll never guess.
We found one of the task force trying to swim out of here. He's saying Lieutenant Immersion's still on site.
Where?
Do you see what I mean by overusing the BMW M3? Now look, I'm gonna be honest. When this happened, I did crack a smile. I mean, just like any other normal Need for Speed fan, but still, I mean, come on, dude. Like I said before, the M3 is everywhere. But what's next, EA? Making an appearance in anime? I mean, shit, I think that's already been done in an edit. Now listen, I don't want you to think I didn't enjoy aspects of Need for Speed Heat, For instance, I really like the day and night system, where instead of having a dynamic day and night cycle, if you raced at night, it was more of a risk and had better rewards, like reputation and winning exclusive parts for your car. It pushed the player to think twice or risk it all, and that's what one of the core pillars of Need for Speed is all about. Unfortunately, this would be the last game Ghost Games worked on, considering that EA laid them all off and gave development reins to Criterion once again shortly after. It felt wrong, considering that Ghost Games was on the right track to get to the next game to be the best it could be. However, they had plenty of time to try and get Need for Speed right back to the glory days, and unfortunately and sadly, it just didn't work out for them. And for a few years of being left in the dark, us fans of the series were uncertain if one of the last arcade racers would die out. That was until 2022. I remember this day very vividly. Why, you might ask? Because I actually got myself a speeding ticket coming home eager to play this game. It was a 73 mile an hour and a 55 mile an hour zone, by the way. Nearly getting my car impounded, might I add, but I didn't care, because I knew that this game could be the one to bring back Need for Speed back to the damn glory days, baby.
What got you into it? I saw this anime when I was a kid. Really stuck with me.
Oh yeah, like a cartoon.
Cartoon? Anime is not a cartoon.
Man, I'm dead. Yeah, that speeding ticket was not worth it at all. Need for Speed Unbound is definitely one of the racing games of all time. And let me be real here. Unbound is not a good game. If you enjoy it, hey, more power to you. Can it be fun? Absolutely. But it is painfully average. It plays it so safe with certain aspects of the game, like the car list being almost the exact same from Heat, as well as the customization. And I know a lot of people hated on the cartoon effects at launch, but I didn't mind it. It tried to be different. But my god, dude, what is this story in this game? I understand it's a racing game, and I'm not looking for amazing writing. However, trying to take the car away that you were building up in like the first hour is just a cheap way to try to get the player to care about the events unfolding in front of them. Pair that with the most cringiest, and I mean most cringiest dialogue I have ever heard in a racing game, and you have Need for Speed Unbound. Criterion can make a good Need for Speed game. We know they can, but this isn't it, man. This game's handling is still terrible. The online grind to unlock everything over again and just multiplayer alone, and playing the same 6 races over and over again is annoying. Oh, and don't forget guys, to buy the Speed Pass, because that way we can continue to get battle passes in our racing game and continue to get milked for content. Oh yay. What the fuck has happened to this franchise, dude? It's just absolutely sad.
How does it feel to have lived long enough to see all of your favorite franchises go down in flames?
Feels great.
As you can tell, I'm a big fan of this series, and I'm just tired at this point. I will always love playing Need for Speed no matter how old I get. I love the pick up and play and hard to master aspect of the series. I really hope this franchise will get better because it's just in a really rough shape right now and it's trying to find its identity once again. The sad part is it's not only Need for Speed that has a rough go around. Racing games in general are dying, and in particular, arcade racers. Midnight Club, one of my favorite racing franchises as I mentioned earlier, as well as my favorite IP from Rockstar right next to Grand Theft Auto, is gone. I hope it comes back, but unfortunately, I don't see it happening. Ridge Racer from Namco doesn't seem like it'll make a return to consoles anytime soon, even though right now, we need it more than ever. Test Drive Unlimited Solo Crown was a big hope for the genre, including many fans like myself seeing the grandfather of racing games return, only to be let down by an online-only aspect, which was not pushed in previous games, mind you. And them being so out of touch, they released an Accolades trailer a few weeks ago, even though barely anyone can get access to the game during early access week as well as the launch week, because servers couldn't handle the player counts. I still don't get how people can defend online-only games, saying, who cares? Get an internet connection, it's 2024. You absolute dipshit. If they shut down the servers, you lose access to the game forever that you paid for. Want an example? Look at the first Crew game. The hopium from the test drive community is crazy, even with a developer in an update saying that more will be coming, like Ibiza from Test Drive 2, even though it's not the full island, it's just a portion of it. Also saying that bikes, houses, and the casino will return eventually, but why aren't they there at launch? I hope Test Drive turns out well, because I know it sounds like I'm a hater right now, but I genuinely want it to do well. But with Nacon's decisions and KT Racing's decisions, they have dropped probably the easiest fucking layup I have ever seen in a racing game, and they just missed it. I don't know how. I literally don't know how. I just cannot support a game that is online only along with drip-fed content. The Crew Motorfest is not a bad game, has a great handling model, some really cool events. If only I didn't play Forza Horizon 3 for over 250 some hours. Festival racers are just boring to me after playing that game for so damn long. Last but certainly not least is Tokyo Extreme Racer. Thank God this game and this franchise is coming out soon and being revived, because we need this, man. If you haven't played these games, the Extreme Racer series is fun as all hell. It's a blast for JDM fans like myself. All this game has to do is be a little above average, and it will be a great and fun, enjoyable time. Need for Speed. A legendary IP that is unfortunately not getting the time it deserves to cook with development and ideas. With Criterion and many of the staff at EA turning to focus on the new Battlefield, which, let's be honest, we all know how that's going to turn out, it is slowly being left behind with just a shell of its former self being its name and a shareholder sheet being passed around the office to give EA the variety it needs to push out a bi-yearly project in their launch window for investors. Do I have hope for the future of Need for Speed? I always will, but I can't lie. Until EA decides to give Criterion time to develop and make the next entry a substantial one, well, I guess we will just have to wait and see and hope that Need for Speed doesn't forget and it finds its true identity once again.
Like a dog without a